In the early hours of January 3, 2026, Caracas was rocked by coordinated U.S. military strikes targeting Venezuelan military installations and command centers. The Pentagon described the operation as limited and precise, citing an imminent threat to regional stability. Venezuela's government, led by Nicolas Maduro, condemned the attack as an act of aggression and a violation of sovereignty. News footage showed smoke rising from Fuerte Tiuna and the El Palito refinery, as U.S. destroyers launched missiles and stealth aircraft neutralized air defenses. The Pentagon claimed efforts to avoid civilian casualties, but Venezuelan media reported power and communication outages in civilian areas. After the strikes, the U.S. called on the Venezuelan military to stand down and support a peaceful transition. The world watched as Venezuela entered a new, uncertain chapter. Officially, the U.S. cited regional stability, but deeper motives are at play. Washington has long viewed Venezuela's ties with China and Russia as a direct challenge to its influence in the Americas. By targeting Maduro, the U.S. aims to sever these strategic partnerships and reassert its dominance in the region. A new U.S.-aligned government would likely shift Venezuela's foreign policy, rolling back years of Russian and Chinese investment. The timing also coincides with global energy uncertainty. Venezuela's vast oil reserves are a strategic prize. Control or influence over this resource would give the U.S. leverage in global energy markets and weaken rivals like Russia. The intervention is about more than Venezuela. It's a move in the global competition for power and resources. By acting decisively, the U.S. sends a warning to others. Aligning with its adversaries carries real risks. The operation is as much about containing China and Russia as it is about Venezuela itself. The world's eyes are on Caracas, but the message is global. Venezuela holds the world's largest proven oil reserves, over 300 billion barrels, mostly in the Orinoco Belt. Despite years of mismanagement and plummeting production, the oil remains a strategic asset coveted by global powers. Under Chavez and Maduro, oil funded social programs and regional alliances, but corruption and neglect crippled output. For the U.S., revitalizing Venezuela's oil sector could reshape global energy markets, drive down prices, and pressure oil-dependent adversaries. A friendly government in Caracas would prioritize U.S. markets, reducing reliance on the Middle East. Control over this oil means geopolitical leverage, rewarding allies, punishing rivals, and shaping international events. The recent military action is as much about securing this resource as it is about political change. Whoever controls Venezuela's oil controls a powerful tool in global affairs. The stakes are not just economic, they're strategic. The world's energy future may hinge on what happens next in Venezuela. After the strikes, Washington outlined a vision for a transitional government and free elections in Venezuela. The rhetoric centers on democracy and humanitarian aid, but economic interests loom large. Reviving Venezuela's oil industry is a top priority, requiring foreign investment and expertise. U.S. and European energy giants, long present under special licenses, are poised to expand operations. Plans for production sharing agreements and joint ventures are already in discussion. The promised jobs, revenue, and economic recovery for Venezuela, plus secure oil supplies for the West. Yet, questions remain about who will truly benefit. Will Venezuela's resources serve its people, or foreign shareholders? The answer will shape the nation's future. As blueprints are drawn in Washington and corporate boardrooms, the fate of Venezuela's wealth hangs in the balance. The world is watching. The U.S. action in Venezuela echoes the 2011 NATO intervention in Libya. There, regime change led not to stability, but to civil war and chaos as rival factions fought for control of oil wealth. The lesson: removing an authoritarian leader is easier than building a stable new order. In Venezuela, fractured opposition and armed groups could plunge the country into similar turmoil. Oil, once again, is both the prize and a source of conflict. Without a long-term commitment to reconstruction, history may repeat itself. The strike on Venezuela is part of a larger U.S. strategy to reshape the Americas. The goal: reassert U.S. influence and deter left-leaning governments from aligning with China or Russia. A regime change in Caracas could trigger a domino effect, pressuring other regional governments to moderate their foreign policies. Control over regional energy flows is central. Venezuela's oil, combined with new discoveries in Guyana, could create a US-dominated energy bloc. ExxonMobil's role in Guyana and a US-aligned Venezuela would give Washington unprecedented leverage over global oil markets. This would counter OPEC and Russian influence, allowing the US to shape prices and supply. Regional security and trade are also at stake. A friendly Caracas would aid US efforts against drug trafficking and open new markets for American goods, reversing China's economic gains in South America. The US aims to re-establish itself as the dominant economic and political force in the hemisphere. Instability under Chavez and Maduro created openings for rivals and fueled regional crises. By intervening, the US is gambling on a new order, one that secures its hegemony for years to come. The outcome will reverberate far beyond Latin America. The chessboard is being reset. The stakes: energy, security, and the future balance of power in the Western Hemisphere. If successful, the US could cement its dominance. If not, the region could face new waves of instability. The world is watching to see which path emerges. The next moves will define the Americas for a generation. Amid global power plays, it's Venezuelans who suffer most. Already facing economic collapse, shortages, and failing infrastructure, the strikes have deepened the humanitarian crisis. The risk of internal conflict looms. Factions within the military and armed civilian groups could turn cities into battlegrounds. In a desperate bid for recovery, a new government may sign away resources on unfavorable terms, leaving ordinary citizens behind. The intervention threatens Venezuela's sovereignty and the legitimacy of any new government. The best hope: a swift, stable transition that rebuilds the nation. The worst: prolonged war, deeper poverty, and lost sovereignty. The fate of millions hangs in the balance. The US strike is a direct blow to Russia and China's interests in Venezuela. Russia, a key military and economic ally, faces the loss of billions in arms sales and oil investments. The Kremlin condemned the attack, seeing it as a challenge to its global influence. China, Venezuela's largest creditor, is concerned about the security of its loans and oil shipments. A new government could nullify existing deals, costing both powers dearly. Beyond financial losses, the intervention signals US willingness to use force to block Eastern influence in the Americas. Other nations may now reconsider the risks of aligning with China or Russia. The events in Venezuela are a stark reminder of US military dominance in its hemisphere. The global balance of power is being tested. The world's great powers are watching and recalculating. The intervention in Venezuela has sent shockwaves through Latin America and beyond. Nicaragua and Cuba, close allies of Maduro and adversaries of the US, now face heightened pressure and isolation. The US may see Venezuela as a template for future interventions, combining sanctions, political pressure, and military force. Beyond the region, countries like Iran are watching closely, as the US signals a renewed willingness to use force for strategic objectives. This marks a shift in US foreign policy, away from diplomacy toward direct intervention. The precedent challenges international norms and could fuel a more confrontational global environment. The attack on Venezuela is about more than one nation's future. It's about the rules of the international system itself. The world is entering a new era of great power competition, one where military force is back on the table. The consequences are only beginning to unfold.